Welcome, everybody, to the Psychedelic Treatment Podcast with John Giordano. I'm your co-host, Scott Jones. I want to thank everybody for joining us. A couple of quick reminders. First of all, if you want to know more about what we're talking about, know more about John, it's on the screen right there. It says johnjgiordano.com. That's where you want to go to get more information about what John's up to, what he's doing. And if you'd like to speak to him, you can reach him through that website as well. Also, if you're liking this show, please be sure to share it with your friends. Like the channel, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you'll get reminders when we have new shows coming up. John, holidays are here. I mean, we're right in the middle, about a week away from Christmas or so. Yep. We got New Year's and everything. Highly stressful time. Just before we start the show, because we got a great guest, what is your advice for somebody to reduce stress during holidays?
Enjoy it. Why do we have to be stressed?
You know what? That's brilliant. No,
enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
It's another day in the life of Walter Mitty. Enjoy your life. Stress is just a mindset, and the bottom line is what you need to do is you need to appreciate that every heartbeat that you have, God, whatever you conceive God to be, blessed you to have another moment of life. So what is it stressful about?
Yes,
stuff happens. Look, I had cancer. I just got operated on. I had all kinds of stuff going on. Part of life. We're like old cars. As we get older, the fenders fall off. And listen,
it's little shine comes off the bumper, huh?
Yeah, it's your mindset. It's what you attract to you.
Yeah.
If you are thinking about being stressed all the time, you're going to attract more stress. You're going to attract it to you. So, it's just a mindset. And it takes time to learn that. And, people say, well, I tried. Well, that's why, because you tried. You got to do it. And it's not something you do right away. And it's like going to the gym. You don't get in shape if you go there for one time,
Yeah, so, absolutely. And if you're new in recovery or you're dealing with mental health issues, this could be especially, trying times sometimes. Don't wait until you're feeling bad to go out and open up and do something. Just plan extra time with your tribe, plan extra time with your people, and spend time. Because you know what? The greatest gift you can give anybody, John, is your time.
Well, and if you want to know what people are really like and who they are, look how they hang out with. If you're hanging out with negative people and you're trying to be positive, it's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So, take a look at who you're hanging out with, and maybe you need to change where you're at. And that's why people get stressed out. Everybody feeds each other negativity, and they go forward, and that's what happens.
There we go.
Then their diet is messed up. They don't exercise, a whole bunch of other things. But,
just do it, people. Just do it.
Just do it. Never give up.
Be happy. Be happy. All right. So we have a great guest with us. He's taking his time. It's early morning for him right at this moment. He's from Salt Lake City, Utah. This is Dr. Don St. John. And Dr. Don St. John, how are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to our conversation. I love what John just said. I agree with his perspective. It's one of those things that I consider very simple and simultaneously not easy. It's simple.
Well, if it's easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
So anyway, so you're out in Utah. You have... I'm just going to set everybody up real quick before we start talking and let everybody know that you have a book out right now that is this one of your many, or is this your one book, or what are we talking about here?
This is a revision of my first book, which I wrote about 7 years ago, called Healing the Wounds of Childhood. And I rewrote it and changed the title, and I hope it's a better book.
Okay, it's Healing the Wounds of Childhood and Culture. You can find this book on Amazon, and certainly you could also go to the website, pathsofconnection.com, if you want to know more. And, we'll pop that up on the screen as we're talking today. So if you want more information about Don and all of the work that he's doing, this is what you want to do. But John, you guys have a lot in common. You guys believe in fixing whole people and not just pieces, right?
Right. And, I like the title and culture. I work with the Onondagas in Syracuse, New York, the Native Americans. I also work with the African American community, Hispanic community, and each one has a different culture, a different view of the world. And, especially with Russians also, their culture. So you have to take that into consideration when you're dealing with them on a therapeutic level, I believe. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is, and my premise is that even in the best of families, even in the very best of families, growing up in our culture wounds us in three general areas: in our connections to ourselves, to our bodies, to the depths of our psyches, to each other, to nature, to our sense of who we are, and to our sense of agency. This culture fosters victimhood.
Absolutely.
It doesn't privilege or recognize that we can take authorship of our lives, that no matter what's happened to us, and believe me, stuff happened to me before I was a year old. I got my first slap in the face. I almost died at birth. Right? Stuff happened. But at some point, I recognized I was the one who was making meaning of those events. And once that recognition really sunk in, then I had more of a sense of power, being empowered in my life rather than being a victim of it. As Viktor Frankl, the famous psychiatrist who was in the concentration camps, his wife, his children were killed. His work was burned. And he came out of that experience with the realization that the one thing they couldn't do to him, take away from him, was his power to make meaning of what had happened. He spent the rest of his life teaching, developing a system of psychotherapy based on that premise. So,
yep. Well, the way when I look at, especially bringing in psychedelics, because I work with Dr. Deborah Mash from University of Miami School of Medicine. She's was the head of the Brain Bank and the Alzheimer's Foundation, and she's also a pioneer in ibogaine, which is a bush from West Africa that was used as a rite of passage. And as you may or may not know, that psychedelics reach into your subconscious and opens that door to where everything is stored. That it's just like a computer. When you get rid of stuff on your computer, it's always on your hard drive. That's why the FBI comes in and grabs your hard drive. So you never really lose that information. And it's all in perception and how we perceive, especially childhood trauma. Like I always tell my clients that children are wonderful observers, but lousy interpreters. They don't have the experience to interpret what they see. And I always give the story of one of my patients that had always fighting with his mother and looking at her disgustingly. And he told me that she cheated on his father. Well, he was 5 years old and he saw his mother kissing this guy. And, he interpreted as she was cheating, but it was actually her cousin that was going away back home to Colombia. And, Latin people, they hug and they kiss and they were sending him on his way, but he interpreted she was cheating. So once he found that out, it changed the whole paradigm of how he looked at life.
Yeah. And, the year was 1968. many years ago, some 55, I believe, years ago, when I had my first psychedelic experience. And I swear it was so profound that I prayed that we could put it in the water system, that everyone should have that experience. Because, we walk around with this sense that we're isolated, that we're separate from everything else, that it's little old me against this humongous universe, you know? And with the psychedelic experience, there's the possibility of recognizing we're all part of it. We're all part. We're not these little isolated specks, you know? And wow,
Absolutely.
what a difference that made.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did LSD in 1965.
Ah, you beat me.
And I was like, forget it. For 4 days, I didn't even realize it that my friend came up. He was selling this, and he showed me this little bottle with clear liquid, and he goes, "Oh, this is LSD." I said, "Oh yeah, let me see." And I drank the whole thing,
Oh my
and it was
God.
5 hits, and it was 5 hits for 5 people. I was gone for
Oh,
4 days. But doing psychedelics back in the 60s and the 70s, and it's a different experience. When you do psychedelics properly and you do it in a therapeutic manner, you need integration therapy. You need intent. You don't just do the drug just to see where you're going to go be. So you need an intention, because the mind is very powerful, and you have to direct the mind, because it's like a team of wild horses. So you need to
yeah,
be in control of it
yeah,
instead of it control of you. And
yeah,
what it does
absolutely.
is it brings you back in to all your traumas, and you need people to help for you to understand what you saw in your journey. If you see anything, or just the feelings that you may experience, you don't have to see things. And there's different psychedelics. Ketamine, you got, which is an anesthetic that they're using today. You got psilocybin mushrooms, of course,
Hmm.
ibogaine, MDMA, ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Yep.
Yeah. So I work with Dr. Mash with ibogaine for 14 years on the island of St. Kitts. We had a detox center. Ibogaine detoxes people in 24 hours that are on opiates, which is unheard of, without any cravings.
Mm.
Usually it takes anywhere from 7 to 9 days to get off opioids. And you're really not offering them, but where you're stable.
Yeah, the
So,
potential is just amazing. I think the research is definitely supporting that. And
right.
I completely agree. I don't think it's something that children, adolescents, young people should mess around with as a recreational drug. It's
Absolutely
very,
no.
very
They're early in
powerful.
development. They're early in
Set and
development, and they're messing up
yeah,
their brain.
yep,
You know,
yeah. Set
absolutely.
and setting are so critical to the quality of the experience and to the effects. And
So we
and
both do trauma work. I also I'm an EMDR, which I'm sure you're aware of what that is.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but I redeveloped EMDR. I also do neuro linguistic programming (NLP). I'm a
Hmm.
hypnotherapist, and I also do holotropic breathing. And I added those modalities to the EMDR, and it made it much more powerful. I work with vets that come back from Iraq, Afghanistan, from war. I work with women that have been raped. I work with police officers that have been in shootings. And see, to me, talk therapy deals with the software of the brain. Psychedelics and EMDR deals with the hard drive. And the hard drive is what drives everything, in my opinion. And you need to work with both, but you definitely need to work with that hard drive.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
that's a great analogy. I completely concur. And I think that's brilliant, John, taking EMDR and, blending it with holotropic breath work, Stan Groff's work.
I
Uh,
I met
yeah,
Stan Groff. I went to a workshop with Stan Groff years and years and years and years ago.
yeah, I went to a lecture with him years and years and years ago as well.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. And, breath work originated with Wilhelm Reich, and I've been trained in a neo-Reichian breath work. Very powerful.
Most people are not familiar with breath work.
I know.
It went kind of like dark for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the things that you do. We have you on instead of talking about me. Let's talk about you. So
Okay. Well, I think relative to psychedelics, I'm a member, and for the last 10 years, a teacher in a church, a Christian church that uses ayahuasca as its sacrament.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Back in 2006, we received a unanimous Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court verdict legalizing, establishing our right to the sacrament in our services. And we've now been doing it, completely legally ever since. We're in several cities in the United States, 2 or 3 cities in Canada, we're in Europe, and all over Brazil. It originated in Brazil. And, I
know people that have a church in Brazil. Their name is what the heck is their name? The singer is their last name. They started a big church in Brazil many, many years ago. And, you see, psychedelics. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you know the name of the church?
No, I don't remember. They have a book. She wrote a book, and I have the book. I'll send you the title and things like that, and who these people are. Their daughter was a client of mine in my addiction treatment center. But you see, psychedelics today, unfortunately, you got corporate America in there, and and what people don't realize that certain drugs interact with psychedelics that can be harmful. So you have to really know what's on board before you give anybody that kind of substance.
Yeah, we screen people before we allow them to experience a session with us.
Right. Well, then you got dissociative disorders, and you got schizophrenia, which is counterproductive for that journey with psychedelics.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of shamans and stuff. They mean well, but they're not looking at people globally. Okay, they're just looking at people that come and get help, and that's okay, but you got to take into consideration where they're at and what are they doing before they get there. So that's why I put this podcast, the pros and cons of psychedelic treatment, because it can be harmful as well as helpful, but it has to be done in the proper way with people that have experienced in this, and you have to take in the medical component. Otherwise, you're just missing a boat.
I think we could all agree that no matter what therapy you're using, it could be harmful or helpful too.
That's right.
Because you could be doing even CBT and done in the wrong way. It could be harmful to a client. Just because you know how to do something doesn't mean you know how to do it right.
Yep. There are always some contraindications, and it has to be done responsibly. And one of the things about our church is it's very responsible. We have a medical and scientific department with medical doctors. Most of these are in Brazil, but they're responsible for the health of the organization on that level. So I completely agree with you both. It has to be done right.
Well, it's some of the journey.
And I think what we need to emphasize is the potency, the potential for positive change. I mean, I have seen single experiences, single sessions, we call our ceremony sessions, in which someone's relationship with their mother, for example, completely transformed in this 4-hour experience after 40, 50 years of having a conflicted and negative relationship with her mother. This woman saw in one experience her role, her contribution to that negativity. She had always previously felt that she was the victim. And it changed. It changed her relationship from that day forward with her mother. So these kinds of things, these kinds of almost miracles, if you will, can and do occur. Okay? And as John said earlier, it often takes a lot more work, a lot of integration, follow up, repeated experiences. I think it's not a panacea.
Right.
At the same time, it's one of the most powerful tools that we could possibly have.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that we did in the island of St. Kitts with Ibogaine is, you know, as you know, ayahuasca is a vine and a plant. Ibogaine is a bush from West Africa. Are you familiar with Ibogaine, by the way?
Just by name, I've never experienced it or worked with it.
Oh, Ibogaine is the most powerful plant medicine on the planet. It's a 8 to 12-hour journey, depending if you're a fast metabolizer, slow metabolizer, and how your liver functions. And it's an incredible, incredible medicine. But of course, it's very spiritual, as you know, as all these plant medicines are. But what we found out is some of the things that we incorporated is diet prior to ingesting the medicine. Plant-based, at least for a week before you do it. No meats, no chicken, no beef, no anything like that, no fish. They're all plant-based, okay? Drinking plenty of water. You know, preparing the body and the spirit to go into the journey of whether it be ayahuasca, or whether it be ibogaine, or any of the plant medicines. These are all spiritual medicines. And you have to have the proper mindset. And that's what's very important. And also your body has to work together with your mind. It's not just one piece. So what we put, and also while they're on their journey, we used to give them some aromatherapy. And, you know, we used to put eye shades on them. We put a headset on them with music, and they would stay in this state because we wanted them to be encapsulated where nothing outside, everything is internal. And after their journey, if we give them that smelling, the different smells, vanilla or whatever, lavender, okay, the aromas, they go back into their journey. Same thing with the music. They go back into their journey because the mind compartmentalizes everything and it triggers all of that stuff. Just like if you're listening to music on your radio, you could be sad, you could be happy, and it brings back memories.
Yeah.
So that's what we found.
Sounds very powerful medicine.
Don, I want to ask you a question. I was looking at your website. And you know, maybe I'm focusing on the wrong thing here, but this stood out to me, and I thought it was important. In a statement you're making on your first page, it says, "What if violence, illness, addiction, suicide, toxic stress, depression, anxiety, and relationship dysfunctions could be traced to the same source?" And then you thought about what an impact that would have. Is it possible for all these things to go back to one source when you think about the totality of the human experience?
Yeah, I think it's more than possible. I think it's highly likely. And I'm trying to think of a good analogy. One is not coming, but what I'm referring to is that when an infant and a child receives the nutrients required for optimal growth, okay, the emotional nourishment, the connection, the presence somebody, a caretaker who's present and can be there with him and can see and understand him and provide a structure of safety. Okay, when a child receives all of that, much, much less likely, not impossible, but much less likely to develop any one of those conditions that you listed: violence, depression, relationship dysfunction. Okay. So I think that single source is uh, a deficit in a sense of self. We form an identity in the process of growing up. And I like to tell a story about a baby lion who got lost in a storm and was rescued by a herd of goats and was raised by the goats and learned to bleat like a goat. You heard this, and walk like a goat. And one day, an old male lion came along and saw what was going on and took that now young lion, a young adult lion, by the scruff of the neck, took him down to the river and put his face near the water so he could see his reflection. Okay, self-awareness, realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm not a goat, I'm a lion. And that's one of the deficits. The other is we're so disconnected from our bodies. Our bodies are fluid. Okay? Our bodies are spacious. But most of us walk around on the dense side with constrictions and chronic tensions and limitations of movement. Limitations of movement equal limitations of expression. Limitations of expression equal limitations of experience. So again, truncated in our experience, in our connections, in our sense of self, truncated in our agency. So,
well,
I just got to ask both of you: did the lion go back and eat the goats after that?
No, he loved the goat.
I mean, I got to assume, if they figure out who he is.
So what you're saying is that there's a lot of other theories on that and stuff like that about the trauma of going through the birth canal and right, and all these different things that I believe were made of energy, and we attract whatever frequency, okay, that we're vibrating towards. And that's why people that have negative thoughts wind up getting negative responses from the universe. So you have to take custody of your mind, take custody of your eyes, and take custody of your speech. So you have to be aware of all of this in order to be congruent with what the Creator created, a perfect human being. And and people go, well, nobody's perfect. I say, you're right, but we're all God-like as far as I'm concerned. When you go into the spirituality part, we're in the image of God. And and the bottom line, I think we lose all of that with all of the 7 deadly sins, with lust and greed and all this stuff. And the bottom line is that we have to realize that everything is made of energy, and we're all interconnected with the planet, with each other. And there are no coincidences that you and I are on this show together, and Scott. So, whatever whatever that reason is, maybe we'll never find out. Maybe we will. Maybe somebody will hear what we're talking about, and the light will go on. So hopefully. That's why I do these shows.
Mm-hmm. Good work, John.
I want to, we're getting towards the end, and I want to throw one more question out there real quick, because it seems like we're doing a lot of backtracking to early childhood and things like that. And, entirely possible that's, certainly I believe at least the majority of that theory is a working theory, and it's proven to be so with most people. However, there's many, many people that go on, and especially if you've had some trauma in your life, you're not connected to that anymore. You're not connected to that childhood. You don't remember it. It may be it's not consciously remembered. What kind of processes do you have to go through to be able to connect with that again so that you can do the repairs necessary?
I think my whole book is an answer to that question, Scott. But there's something that's really important here that I want to emphasize. And that is, I believe that those traumas, those wounds are the raw materials that we all have differently. We have different ones for sure. But whatever they are, they're the raw materials out of which we craft the gold of our lives.
Absolutely. I've been molested when I was young, twice, once by boys in the neighborhood. I've been traumatized. My father went to jail when I was 8. And a lot of other traumas and things like that. And what happens is through introspection, through therapy, through workings of, through psychedelics, through all of this stuff, if you're on the journey to get well, they could turn around and be the most positive thing that can happen to you.
Yep. I'm here because of all those things that happened to me.
Right.
By the grace of God and some smart choices on my part, I turned all that into gold. I have my marriage of 39 years now gets better all the time.
You got me beat. We're 28 years.
All right. We're both 80 years old, and the relationship is still vital. I teach fluid movement to people half my age. I teach them how to move fluidly, and so that all came about because the wounds were so intense. My choices basically were, wallow in misery and booze and dysfunctional relationships and extremely low self-esteem, or get on the healing journey. And along the way, I recognized the possibility of turning all those wounds into gold.
There you go. And I teach the same exact thing. So you're 80. You look great.
Thank you.
I'm 77. I'm also a martial artist. I've been doing that for over 60 years. So talk about movement. I do a lot of movement.
I gave up on 39 years. I gave up on 39 years of marriage. I got a better shot at getting married 39 times. That's what I'm going to do. We've come up against it on time. I want to remind everybody that you want to check out pathsofconnection.com if you'd like some more information about Dr. Don St. John and his wife, Diane St. John, and the work that they do. I got her name right, correct?
You did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Well, I wouldn't be in trouble, but you would. All right. And also, check out his book. You can get it on Amazon right now. Healing the Wounds of Childhood and Culture. This kind of reading is important reading. And, listen, the more you learn, the better opportunities you have to pick something that's going to work for you. So please check out that book.
And remember, things don't work right away. It takes time and it takes effort. Okay, you don't get in shape by going to the gym one day. So you got to keep fighting it, even though you don't want to go. You got to keep doing it until eventually it just settles in, and you accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Yeah, put a little effort in. What the hell? We're only talking about having a happy life. Come on.
When you teach people things, they think if they don't get it right away, they figure it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's not true.
That's absolutely right. And, not getting everything in one show is always one of the problems we have when we're doing podcasts like this, because, Doctor, I think we could talk for hours and just
you're doing great
tip
work,
of the iceberg. But we appreciate you taking your time and being here today.
Yeah,
man.
Thank you. And the work you're doing is really important. People need to understand utilizing your methodology and plant medicine is essential when done in the proper format. It's very important to look at people holistically, globally, not just as pieces.
Absolutely.
We're like the planet. We're all integration into the planet. We're all interconnected, and as human beings and as the universe. So this is important work that you're doing, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you, John. You're doing the same, both of you.
Thank you, Doc. Hey, listen, help us wrap up the show. Again, holidays are coming. What's a message you'd like to send out there for the public for this holiday season?
Oh, I love what John said at the very beginning, and that's, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
There we go.
Stay close to those you love, and don't be afraid to express that love.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go. John, another great show, another great guest.
Terrific.
Always a good time right here.
The creator always puts the right kind of people into the right kind of place.
That is right. That is right. And once again, thanking Dr. Don St. John. Thanks, John Giordano. I'm Scott Jones, wishing everybody happy holidays. And remember, share this with your friends and leave comments. We will go back and read the comments. So please leave comments on social media. We will see you soon right here on Psychedelic Treatment Podcast.
Have a wonderful holiday and a blessed day.
Bye-bye, y'all.